Hello, everyone, and welcome to Toku Portal Podcast. I'm Ryan. With me is
Did it a decade?
Drago.
And zero.
welcome to Kamen Rider Zi-O episode 44. Oh, so we left off on Schwartz stealing Decade's power, and now he's another Decade. Uh, so some of you haven't been here for the podcast in a while. How do you feel about this?
Stealing Decade's power? Should have done it sooner, but better late than never.
I don't know. It was. You know what? I'm just saying. So considering what his power actually is, I think he should begin his powers, because that's literally Dian's ability. What he's using.
Like, so we open up with the episode, and he's using it to kidnap people and put them in like a world where their dreams come true.
Yeah, I feel like that's gonna lead to something. One more thing. Luckily, we have audio streaming, so that's good. Uh,
Thank you for checking.
you, yeah, you might have to turn up Drago's volume though.
Yeah, I turned him up a
Uh,
bit on my end.
Okay. Sorry about that. My mic is actually really weird.
It's fine. Uh, so like this subplot is brought up, but it's not really expanded upon, so it's clearly like building up for later. What what's the end game to this though? Like, what does he get out of it?
I think that's how Sogo. I think that's what Sogo actually did. Like, you know how Sogo has the ability to change like the future. I think that's what this is, and that's how they're gonna explain how Sogo actually became Omazio, or maybe like that's how they're gonna why Sogo is not gonna become Omazio. I think yes, that's the thing what they're gonna do.
I'm sorry, I just don't. I can't make the connection of how kidnapping people relates to power.
It's like you know how the guy's dream, how the guy's world is actually like you know what he said that oh, so this is your world. The guy
Yes.
was gonna win the race.
Yeah.
In the actual in actuality he failed, like he fell down, so he couldn't win. But in his world he won the race. So maybe Sogo is the same. Like in actuality he just became a normal guy, but he in his dreams or his wish was to become an overlord with swords, using his power probably granted. I don't know this, uh, or maybe like that's what Swartz is trying to do. He's trying to recreate like another universe or something. But so because the information that's been given, I doubt I'm right, or I doubt we even can go off, considering how vague Zio gets.
Well, that would kind of make sense because of what Aqua brings up later. Is that basically as long as Schwartz stays in the world, Omazio will exist. So maybe he's using this weird another decayed power to change that.
Maybe. I mean, for what like Aqua said, what I thought that was more talking about is like as long as Gates and Tsukiyomi stay in the past, like their future has to be the only future that exists. Otherwise, they'd create a paradox, which kind of links back to how in Aqua's movie is a perfect time loop, right? Like the couple of movies that lead up to basically Aqua's movie. It's just revealed that it's a perfect time loop. Whereas, like, yeah, the future shit and the past stuff is super connected, whereas like in the show it's a lot more questionable. So I mean, I can kind of get where Aqua's coming from because like from the time travel that he's experienced, that's how it works. But Zio does whatever the fuck it wants, so it's probably not going to end up being what he wants or thinks is happening. As for like Schwartz, like yeah, I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Maybe he was just testing out his power, but like it's too, it's too like okay, either he's doing some kind of weird thing that links to drive, unlikely, or some like I mean clearly the power is like a weird version of Decade's power, whereas like this is your world kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's just testing it out, seeing if it works, because then he's just gonna stick Sogo in it, and then Sogo thinks he's beaten him, but he'll just take over the world or whatever. I don't know.
So our heroes are save Tsukuyomi, have their breakfast interrupted by Kamen Rider Aqua, who is here to bring Tsukuyomi and Gaze back to the future. Uh, Meanwhile, former time jacker, hey Henshin,
Hello.
hey,
Just finished watching the episode. It was a good one.
good, we just started the podcast.
Okay, great.
Uh, so, is attacked by another drive, uh, who has this weird, like, slowdown power on people.
Oh right, you haven't seen
I
Drive.
haven't
Okay.
seen Drive, so you have to explain this to
Uh,
me.
okay, so like most riders have speed up powers. Drive doesn't have speed up powers. Drive's enemies are the Roimutes who are like these weird AI robot things. But basically what happens is like when they activate their power, you know in like Kabuto, the
It,
worms like
it's
clock up
like
and super
anti-clock
speed
up.
up. Yeah, it's anti-clock up. They basically slow down everything around
Oh,
themselves.
I think you told me that
And so
before.
Drive's speed form isn't like it's not a going fast form. It's like
It's a
it
normalizer.
negates the yeah, it's
Yeah.
a normalizer.
I've only seen
Um,
one episode of Drive, and I know, like, about that. I also know that TV Nihon called it heaviness, and I don't know why.
well, that's basically it's because like everybody calls it that because they don't know what the fuck is going on. They just feel like they're being like weighed down so much
Yeah.
that they can't move. So like everybody in the show is like with this sensation. That's all they call the damn thing is like what they're feeling, and they just feel like they're super heavy. They can't tell if people are moving super fast. They don't know if time travel. All they know is they feel heavy, and then like crazy shit happens, which they can't keep up
Yeah.
with. So
I
everybody
also
just
know
calls
that
it
the
the
Drive
heaviness.
suit, it, like,
Oh, the
how
drive suit
go
is
regular.
hilarious. Yeah, the drive suit's really funny because most people can't keep up with what the fuck is going on because like it basically turns into like from their point of view it turns into a DBZ fight where it's like they can't keep up. So there's a character like a detective guy who sees Drive all the time, but because Drive is moving so fast and he form changes, he sees different parts of different forms because the thing is the heaviness affects you so much you can't really turn to look. So like unless somebody's fighting like where you can see, you can't even turn your head to see what the fuck is going on. So he ends up catching like Drive's three different forms and he only sees like part of him. So when people are like, okay, you've seen Drive the most, what does he look like? Right? And he draws him and he draws Drive with like three different forms. So like he does like the legs of one form and the arms of one other and like the head of another. It's freaking hilarious. Um,
Ah,
um, yeah, it's great.
I need to
Also,
watch Drive.
um,
All you need is to
Drive is
have Drive.
questionable. Sorry,
Just
Drive. Go
watch.
ahead.
No, I was just saying, just watch Drive. Don't listen to Zero. It's fun.
um, Yeah, I mean, okay, here's the thing. It depends on how much you can stand the comedy of of doubles comedy because Drive is like at least minimum 2 to 3 times the amount of that style of comedy. So if that really
Okay.
annoys you, it's gonna really get on your nerves. But
I
if it doesn't, then you'll be fine.
I liked Double. I think I'll be fine.
Yeah. Also, Henshin, right, we were talking about like Schwartz and what he's doing with
Mhm.
the weird like this is your world,
Yeah, why is he
with the guy
kidnapping
who
people?
lost. Yeah, what's your theory?
What? Okay. My theory on why he's kidnapping people. My initial theory was that he was somehow like trapping them in bubble universes to like use their energy. I still think that initially I thought it was connected to another drive, but now I don't think so. My guess is he's like other people's desires energy for some reason, although why he'd want more power is unknown because he has both Tsukiyomi's power and decades now.
He still can't beat Omazio. That's why he wants more power.
Right. Got it, got it. So many weird hints dropped this episode, and I'll get to them when they get to them, but I'm like, what the heck is happening in the timeline? I don't know anymore.
Like, I don't. Is he feeding off of wishes? What is he doing?
I guess we'll find out next episode. Maybe.
Also, Drago, you can confirm this. The movie takes place between this episode and the next one, right?
Wait, what's the episode number here?
This is 44.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So, it's
And
gonna
it comes
be.
out tomorrow.
It's gonna be a
No,
little
no, no,
like.
no, no.
Oh, what?
Wait, no, it's after the next episode.
The movie is after the next episode.
What's
Yes,
that? Between
45 and
45 and
46.
46.
Oh, okay.
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 Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Mm.
Because otherwise, it's gonna be like, oh, it's like that build episode where we came back after the movie, but we hadn't seen the movie.
At least with Bill, they're like, oh, here's like some random reference to it. You even if you
Here's-
haven't seen the movie, it's fine.
Here's the cliff notes. He has
Here's
more
the
bottles
cliff
now.
Yes. It's always interesting when like there are more collectibles than the plot says you need to collect. Sense for a toy line, but it's still weird. It's like here is more of the collectibles than would be needed in universe.
Yeah,
Thank
you know what the
Premium
weirdest?
Bandai.
Yeah, yeah, there's that. Uh, the weirdest one is actually Ghost because Ghost has like so many icons, right? But the thing is, the way they put it in is like one, they're based on luminaries or basically like legendary people, like really famous or important people. So it's like they could be an infinite number of them.
Like,
And
he
two is
has a
like
Noonan and Einstein one, right?
yes. Oh, he has Edison.
Edison, not
and
Einstein. It was Edison.
yeah, yeah, Edison and Newton. And then so like Edison has like lightning powers, and then Newton has like gravity powers. Um, but basically the thing is, in Coast, what happens is like you only have to collect 15 um, to get your wish granted. So yeah, there's more, but it's like of course there's more. There's like so many of these people. Um, but like depending on what you want, you can just collect any 15 of them, they'll be fine. And then like most of them are for like the stage show shit, which only like one movie references, so you don't even have to worry about them.
Yeah, the ghost continuity is weird because if you watch the stage shows and all other side material, then you get the full scope of the story. But if you just watch the show, the last part is really because of the last arc being a bit very messy. It's Ghost overall didn't seem that great of a product. Yeah, But okay, let's continue with Zio, I guess.
Okay, so real quick, down the list, what do you think of the another Drive monster suit? Cause I think it's pretty cool.
I really like it.
Yeah, I like it, and I like that they incorporated the Roy mutability.
I like it, but it's slightly less creepy than Another Decade. Still good though.
Yeah, agreed. It's a really interesting suit, like especially because like it incorporates the Roy stuff really well. Because like normally like the slowdown shit isn't Drive's power, but like the another writers incorporate abilities from the villains of the show,
No,
so it makes
actually,
sense.
no. Okay, I was just gonna say, actually, and Drive can do the slowdown. He just chooses not to, just to avoid inflicting pain on other people.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, fuck it. Suit wise though, I do kind of like the like caution tape because police stuff.
Yeah, like that was a
It's
detail I didn't expect that I found myself enjoying.
Yeah, there's that one, and then there's like his weapon is just a door because everything in Drive is car based. So like you saw the stupid sword. Um, that like Zia pulls out. Like yeah, there's the freaking like drive steering wheel sword. There's his gun is a freaking door. It's stupid. You just kind of have to go with it. Um, Also, like the face mask thing, it's like this weird like monster Roymute thing, but I'm like, to be fair, this could have shown up in Drive. Like maybe not the thing from the neck down because that's a little too much like another writer themed. But like just the head could have probably shown up in Drive because like there's certain characters who are kind of weird like that. I'm trying not to name names because you guys haven't seen Drive, so I'm trying not to spoil a couple characters here. But like if you've seen it, you know who I'm talking about. Or actually, there's a couple of them, but like another dude who used to be a thing. You know, Drago. What the
Yeah,
hell I'm talking
yeah, I
about,
do know
right?
that.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting when we all finish Drive.
Uh, all right. Uh, so they bring Aqua back to the coffee shop. No, clock shop. Sorry. Uh, he was drinking something, so I thought of coffee. Um,
I'm like at this point, is it a clock shop? Because
no, it's never been a
50%
clock
of the time
shop.
it's general repair or
He,
food or a cafe,
he's had
right?
5 customers come in for a clock repair, and 3 of them were Decade. Or no, 3 of them were Schwartz, rather.
No,
Sorry.
It's a good
you
thing
mean
this is his
was?
house, so
Waz,
he'd have
fuck.
trouble
I
paying the
don't know
rent.
why I kept forgetting Waz's name like that. The dude doesn't do anything on the show anymore.
He
Except a
could.
Y. Well, he does some stuff, but it's been a while. He
Anyways,
transformed this episode, I just realized that.
Yeah, I
anyways,
mean, like the only thing I really didn't like in this episode is like, okay, we don't have anything for Aura to do, so we're gonna put this stupid cooking gag. I'm like, fuck you, seriously. Like, if was doing it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's funny because like you have Waz who's super into this food shit now, and then like the Time Jackers are like this nonsense, right? But then you put like Aura, and I'm like, okay, the only reason you fucking put her in here because you don't know anything else to do with her.
it's
That's
almost
like
like
the
she
most
doesn't have any
stereotypical shit.
personality.
Yeah, it's not even that. It's like, yeah, of course. But then you add on top of like, oh right, it's the female character. What can we have her do? I'm like, are you serious, show? Like, could you fucking try at least a little bit harder?
So,
Anyway,
they're talking to Aqua, who's like, come back to the future with me because you shouldn't be trying to change the past. Uh, And then their conversation is interrupted by Aura and showing up looking for asylum. And while Gaze is ready to tell them to piss off, Sogo decides to extend his hand to those in need.
And I really like the reasoning that Sogo gives, that they literally have the same motivation as Gate, so easy to judge. Okay, not same, sorry, similar motivation.
Um, Sogo welcoming them seems in Sogo's character as a generally nice guy. Don't think I quite got in and Gates besides both of them wanting to change the past.
The reason why they want to change the past is because they want to pull the future away from the Omazio timeline.
Got it.
They were just going about it in different ways.
Okay, somehow never. Well, they wanted a new king, so I guess that
because they were trying to get rid of Omazio. Remember, every time Schwartz did something that suggested Omazio as a thing that would continue to exist, was like freaking out.
Got it. Which makes me wonder if there's a connection between those guys and Omazio, even if they're from different dimensions.
Yeah, I'm glad we got back to developing Uru, but I I was a little bit disappointed with just that short little explanation he gives, that he's kind of just along for the ride with Schwartz. Like, can we get a little bit more backstory than that? But that's okay, because he was good in this episode.
The way I looked at it, like, he basically feels like he was kidnapped.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, at least kind of did something. Yeah, I agree. It feels really rushed. I mean, at least he had the smarts to come and ask them for help, because, like, what else is he gonna do? He's got, like, literally no other chance, right? Um, you know what I just realized? It's like, why the fuck was Decade in this episode? I mean, like, why was, like, Tsukiyomi talking to...
For exposition.
Yeah, I figured that part out. But I'm like, he could have literally said that shit by himself. He didn't need Tsukiyomi. What would have been more interesting is like, hey, Schwartz is my asshole brother. Hey, I wonder who else knows about Schwartz. Oh, I don't know, the two characters who just showed up. Right? Like, maybe give freaking Aura and Tsukiyomi 2 seconds of screen time to actually talk about that.
I would be totally down for that.
Right? Like, at least they would have something to do. God damn it. And then, like, Tsukasa shows up, I'm like, yeah, he makes sense, but I'm like, literally anything he said, he could have just said on his own random monologue to his side. He could have said it to one of the Time Jackers, because, like, at this point, like, Decade can go to the Time Jackers or the heroes, because, like, they don't really trust him, but they don't really hate him either. Or 3, we've got, like, another time traveler who just showed up, and then, you know, there's probably another one next episode or something, but, like, one of them could have delivered it, so it's like, I mean, as cool as it is that they're incorporating Decade, like, I feel like that scene wasn't necessary for this episode.
It served to, like, just reaffirm Tsukiyomi's character. She is Schwartz's sister. They're from a bloodline that can control time. Like,
No. Aqua says that.
Oh, no.
Decade doesn't say any of that shit.
No, Decade says that.
He just says you're here and the world's distorting because you guys exist in this timeline.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, what Decade says is basically you are from another universe like me, and you are affecting the natural flow of the universe by your existence itself. Like what happened in, like what Tsukasa was doing in Decade, Tsukuyomi is doing in Zi-O. So if this continues, then Sukasa is pretty much gonna destroy the world.
Basically, Omazio should not exist in any timeline.
I did like his one line when she's like, "Well, you lost your powers," and he's like, "Don't worry about that.
T-
I'm still gonna destroy
yeah,
this world."
don't worry over such a trivial detail. Uh, he's still the destroyer of worlds. That was true before he became a Kamen Rider. So, Sogo and have a little heart to heart together, where Sogo realizes that and Gaze are not the same as he initially perceived, because Gaze has somewhere to return to, but does not.
Mm.
Nothing? Okay.
I mean,
It's a good sentence though. Like Schwartz kidnapping these guys, and it's like you're helping me.
I care not for your opinion.
Their timeline might be effectively gone by now, so that puts it into perspective.
yeah, I mean, Aqua kind of pretty much even said that when he looks at Zio, is like, what the hell is going on here, pretty much, right? It's like, that's not what he's supposed to look like. Um, it's also interesting that, like, Waz can recognize, like, oh, that's a time machine. It's just an old time machine. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, Aqua's from the future, but he's still from, like, in the past compared to, like, the Amazio stuff.
It's because
So that's,
he came from like 8 or no, like
2050.
2068 was when Gaze and Tsukiyomi came from. So Aqua came from 18 years before then. That's why he has an older time machine.
yeah, I know, it makes sense, but I'm like, at least they're acknowledging that, which is kind of cool.
Also, one thing is surprisingly, he still is in character, and it's the same character from what do you call it? Same character, but a bit better, like the natural conclusion of what would happen after the Ozu, and that's really
Right,
neat.
right.
Right.
So he still needs encouragement. Okay, to be fair, like he probably doesn't need it that much. That's more of just like a throwback and reference to O's. But I'm like, okay, fair enough. At least he's still in character. Man,
I
Aqua's still so
I
fucking
I
cool.
was
That
just
suit's great.
I was just absolutely shocked when, before getting into a fight, he's like, I need my courage, and he just pulls out a pair of underwear.
Yeah, well, it's tomorrow's underwear, right?
Right,
It's like
like,
Edgy's thing,
He borrowed them off AG.
right?
I need to
Um,
live so I can wear these tomorrow.
Yes.
So, we do, like, that whole line about not having anywhere to go anymore does matter, because Gaze overhears the conversation, and he does, like, start thinking about that a little bit, like what it means to have a place to go back to. So I'm sure we're gonna get something good with that later.
right? Did anybody just think of like freaking Ryuki when like Gates is just like lying on the bed in his room? I'm like, this is such a Ryuki shot. Go ahead, Deckard.
Yeah, that actually makes sense because I was getting some early Heisei vibes from this episode. And yeah, the gate stuff in the background just makes it pretty interesting for a one-parter, or for the first part of a two-parter, whereas some of them have just been kind of useless fights and stuff.
All right, so let's go over what happens next in order. All right. Can't find Aura, so he's worried that she'll be attacked by another drive and goes out to look for her. He gets attacked by another drive. Tsukuyomi, who doesn't know that they've changed sides, saves him. He runs away. Aqua shows up to save Tsukuyomi. Gaze and Zi-O show up to fight another drive because Zi-O technically still has to collect that ride watch, and then Aqua takes Tsukuyomi and bails.
It was a weird sequence of events. Also, it's just like Aqua's basically drags Tsukiyomi off, and I'm like, whoa, are you going to kidnap her? I thought you were a nice guy. And now that I think about it, it is weird that Tsukiyomi saved her.
It's to be honest, it's really not because the only thing she was doing was attacking another drive. And Tsukiyomi is a good person and would save someone if they were getting attacked by a kaijin.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, so if if she can refuse to kill a dictator who's pretty much gonna wipe out the world, then I guess saving isn't that far fetched. Anyways, and remember, I think, and also the fact that last episode, and Ura were betrayed, and Supreme does remember that.
Dragon, what the hell is going on with your mic, man? Seriously, like
I am
audio.
having really bad issues.
At least we
that's
can
good.
mostly understand him.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah.
OBS
It keeps
can
going
too.
from like good. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Oh, I said I hope OBS can also understand Drago.
About as
Oh.
well as I can.
I mean, I think the audio is working live, but yeah, it should be fine. Right. Anybody else about this sequence of nonsense? I do kind of like how Aqua kind of has his own thing where it's like, I'm here just to get Gates and Tsukiyomi. So he's like, yeah, fight, cool. There's the other writers, they got this. I don't need
Right.
to be.
Like, someone's in trouble, fight the evil monster. Oh, the appropriate writers are here to handle it? Okay.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, honestly, I was uh, pretty impressed with the kind of water attacks and the water henshin and stuff. That was cool. But then he runs off, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? But then he explains the situations. It was okay.
It's worth noting that he sees Grand Zi-O and doesn't recognize it, and is like, okay, history has changed too much.
yeah. I freaking love that.
Right now, I'm just like, what is even the future right now?
Well, it could still be Omazio future. It could still be Gay's Revive future, but it's also still the toss-up mystery future.
It is definitely
Yep.
not Gates Revive future because White Wasp got deleted.
Well, Gaze could just completely heel turn and kill Zi-O for no reason,
Mhm.
That would make no sense for his character arc.
but it could still happen.
I mean,
I wouldn't be happy about it though.
It is technically not off the table yet.
I mean, especially considering like Gates is getting like a power-up item that basically looks like Grand Zi-O, so I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Um, hopefully it's not like, okay, you know what? Maybe they're just gonna pull the whole like, oh, hero, fantasy hero shit. Unlikely, but it's possible from X-Aid.
Oh, right.
Right.
Sorry,
I
what
forgot.
did you
I
say?
forgot one more aspect to the nonsense. When Gaze and Zi-O are fighting another drive, returns to help them out.
Right?
Ah, yes. And I'm like, okay. You do know that this will only slow him down briefly, or are you only doing this because you have Gates and Sogo to back you up?
That.
Time?
He's only doing it because they can finish him off.
And then he can take the credit. Well, partly.
And we get like
Yeah.
we get the best stinger when they do defeat him, and you find out that the person underneath has been Aura all along.
Yeah, I feel like, does that make full sense? Because like, I don't think you
Okay.
ever see them
Oh,
on
okay,
screen at
okay,
the
okay,
end.
okay. Listen to me. Uh,
Drago.
okay. What I was saying is, I think that's Aura from the beginning of the show.
Go on.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think in this time travel shenanigans, they can basically pull Aura from anywhere, any point in time, give her another drive ride watch, and go on a merry way.
Yeah, but it's Drive 2019.
But Aura
That
isn't
just
from
okay.
2019, though.
2019
Yeah,
just
fair enough.
means that the Another Rider was created in 2019. It doesn't matter where the host is from.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Does that mean we're going to have multiple versions of Schwartz or
No,
something?
Schwartz is too
Okay.
Schwartz is too arrogant to do that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Actually, sorry, wrong word.
Uh, I think it's
Yeah.
also plausible that Aura snapped and decided if Schwartz is the winning side, then I want to be on the winning side, and made a contract with him.
My
Okay, so
guess
this
is
is really.
that plus she was desperate for power after having hers taken.
Yeah, this is really interesting because I didn't think of those two possibilities. I thought of like, okay, Schwartz went, fuck you, do what I say or you die, and just stuck it in Aura. But I also feel like there's more than one drive, more than one another drive running around. So I don't know which one's correct. At this point, we've got three different theories, and they don't line up at all. So this is going to be interesting to see. Um, but yeah, see, that's kind of cool. Um, that like this show gives you that possibility. God damn, I hope it's one of these and not something really fucking stupid.
So, Aqua explains to Tsukiyomi the situation. He's here to bring them back to the future because changing the past is a bad thing, and Tsukiyomi is actually causing a lot of dimensional distortion. Uh, Her real name is Alpina, by the way, but we are never going to call her that.
Okay,
No, because
is
it
that
sounds like alpaca.
okay? See, I thought it said Athena, and I'm like, oh, insert Pegasus Fantasy from Saint Seiya right now.
That would have been nice, actually. That would have been
That
pretty
would have
good.
been amazing.
In Saint Seiya.
Uh,
That's the intro for Saint Seiya. It's like super famous.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard it.
especially in like Latin America, which is also great because they have like a really fucking strong tokusatsu following. Mostly because they used to get actual like Ultraman shit way more than the West ever got. Um, so like yeah, if it actually was Athena, I'm like, man, forget me. Like a million other people already made the Saint Seiya reference if that was true. But whatever. Um, also, um, your guys' thoughts on Aqua? Because like I've seen the movie and stuff, so this isn't the first time. So I'll keep my thoughts for later. But like anybody else's thoughts on this guy or him showing up for the second time, your thoughts on him this episode?
Decade?
I kind of already said mine. I hope he gets to kick some more butt next episode. But yeah, he had a decent purpose.
I mean, anything about his suit also?
Oh, the suit. It's been a while since I saw it. Is it different? The mask different?
No, I think it's the same. It's just, any thoughts on his suit? Because it's pretty different than like the Zi-O suits.
Oh yeah, it's
So
classy. I mean, even the henshin is a throwback, so it's fun.
He's okay. I like the suit. I feel like I've seen the movie like out of context to O's. All I know is this guy was possessed for a while and then AG saved him. So even in his own movie, like half the time he's possessed, so we really don't know much about him. other than he's a water rider.
Uh, thinking about what he was like back in that movie and seeing him now. Whoever was that said this is the natural progression is super spot on with that statement. Like he was still new to being a rider and like a hero back then, but now here he's like confident in himself and able to handle himself a lot better.
Dragon, any thoughts?
I've already seen him in the movie, and I really like him, especially his suit and all of his aesthetic. So yeah, I don't have any new thoughts on him. His new
Yeah, I would have to agree. It's like it's nice to see him more confident. Um, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of torn about the underwear because I'm like, I feel like he would have been more confident by now. But then again, I'm like, it's a good throwback. Plus, like, he's not fully confident, so it makes sense it being there. On the suit side, I mean, like, he's also really well acted, so that's good. Um, Suit wise, like, yeah, freaking great classic suit. I love the freaking water effects and stuff. It's so simple, but it's such an awesome thing. I also love how like he fights. It's always like creating like CGI water effects and all that. So like kind of like Wizard, where it's all just flames everywhere, or like Drive, um, kind of thing. So that was cool. Fuck, I love how they're referencing the guy and they put this stupid ski-doo because I'm like, yes, that's so dumb, but I love it because it's like, yeah, he was supposed to be like a rider from a different era where it's like, I don't even fucking have a bike. I just have a freaking like jet ski type thing, and they put it in his like weird like flashback monologue thing where, and then it cuts to like basically the ending of his movie where he's like going back through the wormhole and like Eddie's standing there waving. I'm like, oh, that's such a nice moment. Put it through in. Yeah, like honest, like he's good and all, and like what he's doing makes sense. But I'm like, it only makes sense because it's from his perspective, and his perspective is a perfect time loop. Whereas Zio, it doesn't work like that. So like, obviously he's wrong, but like from his point of view, it makes.
Like he when Sugiyama says the objection of if we leave, Sogo will become the Demon King because we're kind of being his emotional anchor to keep him off that path. But Aqua suggests the idea that like if you stay, you will be the anchor for that timeline to become a reality because you're from that timeline, so you're naturally just pulling history into that direction.
Right, which makes sense. Also, how the fuck does Aqua know what Zio looks like? Right?
he should because 2050 and 2068 till that time Zio was the overlord and he was active.
No, but base form Zio, not like full powered. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess in his timeline, like Amazio exists, or actually no, because he's from a timeline without
Okay,
Amazio,
let me put it like
right?
this, okay?
Well, he's before him.
He never, whatever he did know existed, he never saw Grand Zio before. That was new to him.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, my
Dude,
thing
he
is like,
knew something we didn't from that line. He may still, but I'm not sure.
yeah,
Well,
I
basically,
I
like in
thought.
the Omazio timeline, Grand Zio doesn't exist because Zio became Omazio instead.
Hmm.
See, there's that,
Yeah,
but
because he obtained the drive watch properly.
yeah, yeah. I mean, come on, man. What can you expect from a guy who cheats on his final exam?
Yeah, there we go,
Right?
there we go, there we go!
Cheat on getting that final Y
It's a
watch. Say
slippery
like,
He,
slope.
get that by a technicality.
he,
That means
he
that
cheated to
I'm not
graduate,
technically
he cheated on his graduation, he cheated on his coronation, and I have doubts about the legitimacy of his motorcycle license.
What
Oh
so
man,
what
that's great.
forms did you get your uncle to sign without his full knowledge?
Oh fuck, so good. Um, yeah. Also, like, no, what I meant is like, okay, Omazi is like 18 years in the future. It could be a different form, or maybe he hasn't seen Omazio, or he's only seen Zio, or Grand Zio in his timeline looks different because he's like, oh, you're from a line of people with time travel powers, but I'm like, technically, if it's the thing we're thinking of, is like, oh, they're Mazio's grandkids. It's like, shouldn't they not
I,
exist right now? Right?
I don't think that they are Omazio's grandkids. I find that again from like Sukasa said in this episode.
So you're gonna have to say that again.
Okay, what I was saying is that I think, like Sukasa said in this episode, Tsukuyomi and Suon is from different altogether. So the theory about him being the Omazio's grandkids is kind of weak now.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, well, the real funny thing is like, how many timelines do we have going on? Because we have like, right, no, so we have Waz
we
and Gates' timeline. Then we have Tsukiyomi and Schwartz's timeline. Then we have Aqua's timeline. So there's three, and then there's the fourth one, which is what we're running now.
And there's Kabuto's timeline as well.
Plus, whatever the heck kind of
No,
timeline
no, no.
Zero One will get.
Oh god, no. I mean, like in the show now. Um,
we have
yeah.
Omazio, uh, Gaze Revive, and now
No, no, no.
this.
I mean, like currently running. Yeah. So like we've got like four. No, no, no. I mean like timelines merging. We've got like four different timelines
Oh,
merging because like
merging.
Aqua's. Yeah. So there's like Aqua's timeline. There's Tsukiyomi and Schwartz's timeline. There's uh Gates. I mean like Gates was and Omazio is one timeline.
This
The fourth one is the new one,
this
right?
is too confusing.
Yeah. Plus, I mean,
Okay.
if we include all the older shit, there's like White Waz, there's the Kabuto shit, there's like whatever version of Tsukasa's gone through. So like, there's so many. That's not
You
even
get
Okay.
a
What I
including all
was
the
timeline.
other
You
gonna
get a
writers.
timeline. Everyone gets a timeline.
Right, exactly. Especially like if we started including all the normal writer stuff, like there'd be so many more. So that's why I'm not including any of the different timelines from the movies and the previous writers because that being
No. Okay. What I was gonna say is I think the implication of this episode is that Aqua is from Oma timeline rather than from being from a different
maybe.
place. It's just that Omazio hasn't conquered the entire world yet. Maybe like he has only conquered like a good subsection, and there are still riders to
Aqua
oppose them.
does come from a future that's just fucking wrecked.
Yeah, I know, but I'm like I
Yeah.
felt like that's like Godspeed Love Future. But
Uh,
like then again there was
No,
another
probably not.
meteorite.
well, they never gave a full explanation of what it was. They just said like, yeah, things are bad in the future, and new riders had to rise up to the occasion, and Aqua is one of them.
Yeah, and the
Yeah,
thing
fair
that
enough.
could be was bad could be Omazio.
It's Decade's fault.
Okay, we're back.
Yay.
Nice.
Honore
Uh,
Decado.
God damn it. Welcome back to Narataki, the hidden backstory. Um,
I forgot about that.
all right. So
I am disappointed we haven't had Narutaki back.
no, no, no. That's my and Rai's running joke of like the reason why like Narataki keeps running around blaming Decade for everything is Narataki was actually Omazio, and then Decade showed up and fucked up his timeline, and so now he's not a writer anymore.
And so he goes back in time and tries to like interfere with Decade stuff, but nothing changes. That
Yep.
because like Narutaki has no character or backstory in all of Decade.
Right. It's you know what happened? Ah, fuck it. No, I was gonna make a really stupid joke, but let's forget about that.
Okay. So you were saying about the idea that you were about to say something about Aqua being from Omazio's timeline Zero.
Yeah, I was saying like, okay, it makes sense for Aqua, but then it doesn't make sense for all the other future writers. But fuck it,
Oh,
this show doesn't care.
okay. Allow me to clarify.
Yeah, Amazio,
Sh-
like Amazio
Shinobi
taking their
is
power.
from the Gaze Revive timeline.
Okay,
Uh,
that's not what I meant.
oh,
I meant like all the kids of the normal
oh,
writers,
New
but like
Deno
yeah,
and New Kiva.
yeah, like those guys.
Okay, one new Deno can just hop on his den liner and escape. New Kiva probably died.
New Deno is a singular point, which means he's not affected by changes to the timeline. So he could easily be from like the corrected timeline that comes as a result of this show. When the whole Omazio stuff is resolved, and it still makes sense in terms of his appearances in Deno.
Yeah, fair enough. Um, I mean, like the ultimate, like, oh no, you've taken over the world. Who could stop you now? I love like Decade's answer is just send in Blade because like either way you win. I mean, okay, no, you don't win. The villain loses because either you Blade kills you and you die, or you kill Blade and the world is fucked, right? But but Omazi is like the only fucker. Like Zio's the only asshole who figured out Catch 22 around that. He's like, oh, I just took your power,
All
therefore
right,
you're
you
both no longer Jokers.
you no
So
longer
like I
qualify
guess
as undead.
right. So like he's the only person who figured out a solution to that problem, and it's only because his freaking power ups are bullshit gimmicks that take away other writers' power.
Uh, so uh, we get go back to wondering why Aura has turned on him. Aura offers no answer and just walks away, and then Schwartz shows up to just brag some more and show off his new Another Decade powers. The Another Decade suit. Uh,
The suit is creepy, and I love it.
Suit is super creepy. Also, I love, like, of course it has Decade's dimension powers, but I was thinking, oh, maybe we could do some really crazy shit, like Schwartz is hurling Zi-O and Sogo through, like, tons of dimensions at warp speed, although that didn't happen.
I like that
That
the
was too much
driver
for the budget.
is
Yeah?
sitting inside of a mouth.
Didn't notice
Like,
that. Darn.
It's like inside of a beast's mouth.
Okay.
Yeah. See, that was interesting, but seeing that, it just reminded me of the Ghost Driver because Ghost Driver is literally an eyeball, right? And like the villains just get
Oh yeah,
weirder
right.
and weirder.
Actually, that's what felt as well when I was watching the episode.
Uh, and then
Um,
the final scene
yeah,
is
like
that. Oh, go on.
yeah. So I was just gonna say, like, form-wise, it's not terrible. Like I like the glowing eyes and stuff, but like honestly, it's not that impressive for like a final villain form. Um, yeah, but again, like I wish you would have taken like I mean not Drive, Decade's ability to change forms or something. So like dimension shifting is cool and all, but like technically that's got nothing to do with his belt. But then again, like they took the undead stuff from Blade, so I guess they can literally just take or the Agito evolution shit. So like I guess they can just take the essence of a person out of them. So I guess the dimension shifting makes sense there. Um,
Yeah, but okay. I was just gonna say the riders he summoned makes it seem like he's using Tien's power. Because remember, Tien can summon all the movie villain riders.
yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah,
Because he
so
just summons
I'm
it and
like,
it's like, oh, it's all the black and white villains. I'm like, that's cool, but like, yeah, the incomplete has a
Oh
much
my
better
god!
setup for the. Yep.
I did not realize that they were all like black and white. That went over my head.
So that
Yeah, it
was
is
cool.
yeah,
interesting.
Also,
okay.
Uh,
uh, again, it would have made more sense for him to take DN's power, but like secondaries get like no love in the show except for when they do because the lead writers, I mean the main person from the show is like
off filming Bleach
super
somewhere.
black, yeah, super blacklisted, or like super hates Toei, right? So like Hibiki and Kabuto, right? Um, yeah, and then you have like the problem like the Double and Kiva and Forze shit of like everybody's so busy, which kind of sucks.
The, the
Okay,
children's
you know what
programming.
is funny
It's
about okay. What I was gonna say is, you know what's funny about Double not showing up? Ren Kiriyama would show up for everything for every crossover that there is, but this year he happened to be super busy. This
uh
exact year, that is
oh,
that is hilarious.
we're getting Eternal.
Yeah, Eternal's
I
cool.
haven't seen his movie, and I feel like I'll need to
You
finish W first.
don't need to watch the Eternal movie.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, you can just watch the Double movie. The Eternal movie is kind of just like backstory of him
Eh,
starting to use the belt and stuff,
Tell you what.
and just going more crazy over time.
Tell you what. If you're gonna
It
watch the Eternal movie, uh,
Hmm.
in the last like I want to say about 10 minutes is when it turns into a Kamen Rider movie. Just stop there when it gets to that point.
Okay. Alright, so stop before that last 10 minutes. Got it.
Yeah, basically it's really good backstory for Eternal if you care about Eternal. If not, like it's not important.
I
Um,
have some
but
friends who are super big fans of him, but I know nothing about this guy. Only that he's crazy.
yeah, um, kind of. Basically, like in the Double movie, he is crazy, but like in the Eternal movie, it's like him early on, so he's still a little more human. It's just in the movie, it just shows like he goes more and more crazy the more he uses the belt and stuff, or the more he breaks down. Um, so it's like really good backstory for the character, but it's like it's not important for future shit because that character has already been damaged beyond repair at that point.
Got it.
Yeah, but you know what's cool is that Eternal is a both double and drive cameo because Eternal's actor, according to him, Kamen Rider Young from the Kamen Rider 4 movie.
Sorry, what
Yeah,
Rider? Kamen
apparently,
Rider 4 from the GP special.
yeah, Kamen Rider 4 is apparently Katsume Daido from another.
Right. It's because like he's been like multiple different writers at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
and then apparently, if you're a musician who becomes a writer, you're automatically a huge diehard fan of yourself.
And he
so
sang Surprise Drive, so that's even better.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, he did do the
I
intro. That's
remember that. Surprise Drive is a good song.
and also the fact that now it seems apparently in the next 15 years, the actor slash singer wants to be the president of Toei.
That's interesting.
Uh, so Schwartz teleported them to somewhere else, or possibly somewhen else. Like the change of scenery, I don't know, just gave me this like prehistoric era vibe to it.
See, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, we've teleported here, where it's like, isn't this where we had like Dead Heat versus Heart, like that one badass fight? Oh, you haven't
It's
seen Drive.
it's where like
Yeah,
70% of Sentai fights end up. So
yeah,
I was
that's what I
thinking
was
about
thinking.
that.
That mountain, whatever that
So,
mountain is, but it's much greener than I remember it. But I know
someone,
that mountain.
one of the characters is like, "Where are we?" And my head just went, "Well, you're in the same place that this happened."
Right? Because I was
And
like, oh, this is like okay, first like Drive, and then I'm like, isn't this where like Akiba Ranger shoots their shit? So yeah, I
Yeah,
guess it's way more
Everything
common in
gets
Sentai.
shot.
actually.
like
Honestly, like,
I just imagine a
honestly,
scenario where like, where are we? And then they turn and they look to the left and they like see a different like fight going on,
Sentai
completely
shit.
unrelated.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like going to that one bridge from Rider, or
The
even better, the Tokyo Stadium. It's like, where are we? You just see like 3 or 4 Rider fights just breaking through the stands, depending on which side of the
okay,
stadium
what
you're.
the heck is going on? And then Waz is like, oh shit, all the timelines are starting to combust together at the same time.
Oh man, so good. Um, yeah, that was fun. I think it's just Schwartz just demonstrating his power that he can move stuff, but I'm like, this is Tokusatsu. Like, jump cutting to a different location is like what we do like 50% of the time. Like, it's not an impressive power, bro.
At least it isn't those things where, like, you're inside and they start a fight, then suddenly they jump 90 feet in the air and then they're outside in a completely different location the next second.
Oh god, yeah, it's so true.
I love
That's
the
such a like. Okay, go ahead.
henshin, and like you get the sparkly effects, and then when those fade, they're in a completely different location.
Or
The best part.
or suddenly they transform and the character has somehow shrunk and or grown 5 inches.
Those are
oh
always
no,
fun.
that happens in
That
Sentai.
that happens in Sentai because in Shinkenger, I remember this one specifically. Blue is like a foot taller than everyone else, but when they're in suit, they're all about the same height.
Uh,
I'm
that's
pretty
really
sure
fun.
like Shinsuke's actor was like
Oh,
6
Shinosuke's
inches
actor's
taller
super
than
tall.
Takaiwa.
Yeah. That's actually pretty funny too. It's just like Shinosuke is like super tall, but like the way they shoot it, he just looks like a regular dude. But then whenever you see like a group shot, it's like, holy fuck, uh, Kiriko's so short, and it's like, no, she's regular size. Shinosuke is just fucking tall. Um, so that's
It's
great.
the same thing with Parado as well.
Really? Okay, that
Yeah,
I
the
never
actor
caught,
for
but like,
Parado is really tall.
oh yeah, you're right. It's in the fuck the movie where they meet like drive and stuff, right? Then you could really notice. Um,
Uh,
yeah, because he's just running around with the build cast beside him, and like the build cast looks so out of proportion with him. Yeah.
this I know what do you call it. One of the most strangest things that in Tokusatsu is when like the main rider is taller, but and the secondary rider is taller than the main rider, but when they transform, the secondary rider just increases in height.
Oh man, so good. Oh fuck, that's actually happened a couple times too, right?
Ryu
Uh,
Soldier.
Yeah, I think the most recent in Sentai would be, or the current one is Asuna, the Pink Ranger. She's like 3 inches shorter in the suit than she is in real.
See, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, what the fuck? I actually saw that episode. I'm like, why does your suit stuff never match up to you? Like something's
I've
throwing me the
never
fuck
noticed
off.
that yet. I'll have to. Maybe I've noticed sort of, but not explicitly.
Yeah, I just thought it's just weird because she like dresses so different in like normal form, but I'm like they all fucking dress differently. So like something's throwing me off about her, but like it's hard to tell. Um. Anyway, we're talking about Sentai. Actually, I actually did watch the last episode. Holy shit, Black is like the fucking best character on that show now.
Kind of.
Like
Anba
he
just
doesn't.
doesn't give a crap at all.
I know that's the best part. Like, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna stop fighting, and he just is like, okay, everybody just like moves out. He just like turns around and like fucking takes out the damn basically what he thinks is gonna take out the monster right then and there. I'm like, holy shit.
Honestly, I was like,
And
how the
like
hell does a rock have emotions? Then I'm like, oh wait, yeah, they've established that objects have
inanimate objects
emotions.
still have sentimentality to them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like this Japanese thing of like if something's old enough or like treasured or revered enough, it kind of has its own soul or essence. It's
Got
a
it.
very like Shinto concept. Um,
Okay. Yeah, like it took me a while to think about it, although like just one last thing about that. I liked that idea of like if the thing spawning the Minosaur can't technically die, that Minosaur will keep growing forever, and I'm like that is scary and a cool concept. So
Hey, guess what? Rocks can't die. You break it in half, you just get two rocks.
yep, rocks
right.
can't die.
That was pretty good. I'm like, okay, so this is one of those situations where it's like, this is so busted. You're gonna have to bring in something even more busted. So this is like a Phoenix situation where it's like, how do you beat Phoenix? You just get Kamen Rider Beast. So like, you know, like something so busted. The only way is like to basically break all the rules. Um, which kind of ties back into like Omazio. It's like, yeah, the only person I could think of who can beat Blade is Omazio because Omazio's gimmick literally just takes the writer's powers away. That being said, he would have to beat Blade in a fair fight. So it's like Blade King form versus Omazio, and that starts becoming a little more questionable.
Wait, but if Blade King form is the versus, it can't be Omazio because he doesn't have the Blade Rider Watch yet. Because to become Omazio, you
Oh,
have
right,
to have
right.
all the Rider Watches. So
Yeah,
he'll
so
have to
Zio
make do
2
with other
versus
forms,
right, so Zio 2 versus King form, in which case King form wins.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Sorry. Shoot. Sorry.
That's
Uh, okay. Uh, so we pretty much covered this episode, and the only thing we could really talk about from the next episode preview we already did, which was Eternal. So, any final thoughts on the episode? Anything else you guys want to bring up?
Well, this episode makes. I really like this episode. Aqua was cool, and I really like his time machine as well. Like they actually tied his story into Zi-O very well, in my opinion. And also, I really like the fact that Decade is still in the his role as a destroyer isn't done yet. He if there's any problem like the multiversal collapse or something like that that happened in Decade, to prevent that he can still has to be the destroyer of the worlds, which I really like that aspect. And other than that, other than the weird sequence of events, this was a pretty well done episode, and I'm really excited for the next week. Just having fun with Eternals. I really enjoy the actor who plays Eternal a lot, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we're keeping the momentum going, especially after the last couple episodes, how crazy they were. So I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty good final arc overall.
I have really high hopes for this final arc. I love that you just don't know exactly what's going to happen next, and I love the uncertainty. I also like the pacing and tone of this episode because it seemed like way more serious and creepy than recent episodes we've gotten. Part of that's probably because like we're in the end game now, but I also like the use of the filters and like the sound design and everything. It just felt like kind of coalescing into a very serious, well, the timeline could get seriously wrecked, or we could get the Demon King and you don't know what's going to happen. So I am very excited to see next week's episode and, of course, the rest of them. And it makes me sad that we only have 5 episodes left.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys have said. Pretty interesting, pretty solid episode. Yeah, the tone definitely a little bit darker and more serious, which is good. Seems a lot more well paced or structured. Well, that's not true. Some of it was a little shittily written, but like it's all just to service. Like it seems like they finally have a plan. They're just executing it now, which is good. Um, so at least we're getting like all the characters having more character.
I
As for next episode, like yeah, go ahead.
sorry, no, you finish first.
Yeah, as for next episode, I think it's it's really good to see Eternal come back and then like Aqua and Eternal getting their moments. It's freaking awesome. Um, how they're gonna resolve this, I have no idea. I don't know how this is gonna end. But at least it's better than last week's episode of nonsense. I mean, like it wasn't bad, but last week's episode like kind of pissed me off. This one did a really good job of like getting the show back on track.
This episode was really solid overall for me, and I really enjoyed seeing Aqua. I really One thing that this show as a whole has done for me is like give the service of showing different riders from like different shows collide and interact with each other in both friendly and confrontational ways. And I just like seeing the different styles of riders like interact with each other. So the fact that we're getting Aqua and Eternal next week as well is like I am super looking forward to that. I'm like upset that this episode ended off with the stinger of like Schwartz summoning all those evil riders that are like all different styles to fight the heroes with.
Yeah, especially the rocket launcher looked really out of place, to be honest.
Well, that's that's just G4. It's like what do you expect? That's his one finisher.
Yeah, I know, but still, like it makes sense in Akito case, but like all the way here in Zi-O, bringing such an old thing is hilarious in my opinion.
Oh, you've got a rocket launcher. Cute.
Right? But I'm like they okay, they were clearly trying to go for like a flashy finish. And the thing is like G4 has no finisher besides the damn rocket. So what else is he gonna do, right?
Right?
Um, whereas I see this one of the more annoying things is like those are really interesting suits and they all fight really differently. Like you barely got to see any of that in the actual fight, which kind of sucks. But then again, they were only there just to pad out the episode because like those four guys, they all fight super differently. Like you could have a whole episode with just fighting them, and it'd be really interesting because they all function so different.
And that's what I'm looking forward to seeing. So thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Then we'll be back on Tuesday for more Rio Soldier, and Wednesday for more Kamen Rider Zi-O. As Henshin mentioned earlier, there are only 5 episodes left in this show. Let's make them good ones. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll catch you next.